In today's consumer culture world, where gamers are devouring gaming content like so many packets of Doritos and bottles of Mountain Dew, first impressions count for a lot. Old school classics like Super Mario Bros. 1-1 and Sonic the Hedgehog's Green Hill Zone 1 were exemplary showcases of introductory level design back in the day, but contemporary games have to do so much more. Nowadays, a gaming introduction has to seamlessly introduce characters, set the tone, kick off the narrative, introduce the gameplay mechanics, and get you hyped for the entire gaming experience, all within the fragile time limit of the 21st century human's tiny attention span. But some games out there manage to rise to this meaty task and deliver an introduction which seizes your mind by the balls and keeps you invested throughout the game. With all that in mind, this is Will for WhatCulture.com, and here are the 9 best video game openings of the last 10 years. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to stay notified. Ding, ding, done. Number 9, GTA 5. The Grand Theft Auto series is famed for artfully combining excellent gameplay with enough sex, drugs, and violence to terrify an entire generation of Christian mothers into an early grave. GTA 5 kicks off with this wholesome display of family values as you rob a bank, switching between main characters Trevor and Michael and gunning down security guards and cops as you attempt your getaway. After both other teammates end up dead, Trevor flees the scene after Michael is shot by an unseen gunman. The scene then fades away to Michael's funeral, where the camera pans down to see Michael observing from the distance as the title card appears. The opening manages to effortlessly guide you through the basics of combat and driving, while giving you an early insight into Michael and Trevor's characters, all tied up in an action sequence that feels straight out of a crime thriller blockbuster, set off brilliantly by fantastic voice acting and an incredible score. The relationship established here between Michael and Trevor echoes across the entire story. It's a perfect setup to a damn near perfect game. Number 8, Batman Arkham City. As far as a billionaire beating up the poor in fancy dress goes, the Arkham series does a damn great job of making it feel awesome. And most would agree that Arkham City, the second installment in the series, gets the Bat crown as best of the lot. Beginning with the most intimidating neckbeard of all time, Dr. Strange, looming over you, Strange's threatening monologue is intercut with footage of Bruce Wayne's capture and imprisonment. We're then ushered through into Arkham City itself, catching glimpses of Black Mask and Deadshot, before promptly being curb-stomped by the Penguin. The introduction does a fantastic job of introducing the premise, key villains, and a sense of claustrophobic, overwhelming dread as we first enter the city-sized prison. Number 7, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance starts the ball rolling with an opening cinematic where we see a load of soldiers get sliced up by the ever-stylish Samuel Rodriguez like he's playing a psychopathic patch of Fruit Ninja. Then we get good old Boris with that charming Russian audible chocolate guiding Raiden through the basics of combat as we fight a couple of cybernetic soldiers. Oh, and a f***ing giant Metal Gear. Twice. This is followed by a devastatingly intense fight atop a moving train where you get beaten down like the star player in a Raiden-themed whack-a-mole. I'm not normally a fan of in-game fights where you literally can't win, but this does a great job of showcasing how absolutely outmatched Raiden is, building into an inevitable sense of dread as you get diced up and start slipping into unconsciousness actually during the fight. It's an intense introduction that showcases everything the rest of the game has to promise, with action sequences that could well be the final climaxes in other games. Number 6, The Last of Us. So it takes an incredible level of audacity to open a game with your own daughter literally dying in your arms. Spoilers, I guess. The Last of Us stabs your heart in the dick right off the bat as we follow main character Joel, his daughter Sarah, and brother Tommy driving through Texas as the mutant fungi outbreak ravages the world around them. It captures the game's dark, realistic tone and kicks off Joel's arc throughout the game, beginning with the death of his daughter. It's a masterclass in character development, graphics, voice acting, and pacing that can leave you in tears over a character you've only known for 5 minutes, all the while hooking you into the story. It's among the emotional highlights of the entire game, and it comes within 10 minutes of putting the disc in the PS3. Number 5, NIER Automata. NIER Automata lets you know from the very beginning that it's not a typical game. Playing as 2B, the coolest video game protagonist ever named after a type of pencil, the gameplay seamlessly shifts across different perspectives throughout side-scrolling shoot-em-ups, then crashing into a hack-and-slash combat style with the camera moving between a behind-the-head 3D style and a 2D Metroidvania-esque perspective. This keeps the gameplay fresh while letting you ride out a nostalgia-fueled nerdgasm for the mix of classic gameplay styles. The brief interactions between 2B and 9S also give you some tantalizing glimpses of world building. But who am I kidding? What really sets the introduction apart is the boss fight where you take on the giant factory transformer monster style thing. And then you rip his own arm off and beat him down with it as he chants the word kill over and over in that terrifying mechanical voice as the fight progresses. Only for you to ultimately Predator-style detonate yourself to take out 3 of the metallic bastards all at once. And then you die. All good games start with you dying. Shout out to Mass Effect 2. Number 4, Dark Souls. The opening to Dark Souls is a treasured memory for many gamers. Having to establish an entire world, history and lore within the opening 30 minutes is no small feat, but Dark Souls revels in challenge. The opening cinematic feels right out of a film with a Lord of the Rings style narration, acting to impress upon us the titanic power of the lords, 2 of which you'll have to kill later, and establishing the looming darkness that threatens to envelop the entire world. From there we find ourselves rotting in a cell, and the gameplay begins with our escape, and then you get your first taste of the harsh reality of the world with the Asylum Demon. A nice joke from the development team to establish how brutally difficult the journey ahead of you is. After teaching you the hard way that you're less than dirt and terrible at everything and to just run away and cry, the game will have ignited that Dark Souls fire in your soul that'll keep you playing until everyone you know has left you and the years have aged your body into a crippled husk. The addiction is real, and the addiction all started right here. Number 3, God of War 3. As far as aggressive god murdering goes, Kratos is right up there with Richard Dawkins. In its delightfully bombastic way, God of War 3 opens with not 1 but 2 boss fights in the first few moments, the Leviathan and Poseidon, god of the sea. Armed only with a furious aggression that would put a constipated Hulk to shame in a series of quick-time events, you slice and dice Poseidon like the oversized calamari that he is, and go on to perform the world's most enthusiastic and least successful eye surgery. You barely then have time to bask in your own bloody glory before Zeus flicks you off Mount Olympus and you fall all the way down to Hades. Yes, this game looks awesome, but more importantly, it feels awesome. It tells you everything you need to know about what the game is and what this game will be in the most overly gratuitous and downright fun way possible. Number 2, Uncharted 2. Slow and steady wins the race, unless you're the opening of Uncharted 2. In that case, you win the race by going full throttle on the tension before Nathan Drake even has time to make a snarky quip. You start out with no idea of what's going on, suffering a brutal injury to your stomach, bleeding out, and literally hanging off the end of a train dangling over the side of a cliff. You then have to precariously clamber up with terrifying shots of the void below you and the creaking, collapsing train never more than a moment away from sending you plummeting to your death. It nails the most important thing any introduction has to do. It creates intrigue. You're hooked in from the very first second of the game, and that's a hell of an achievement. Number 1, BIOSHOCK Infinite. As a counterpart to Uncharted 2, sometimes you don't need to go full train dangling over the edge to create intrigue. Sometimes you can do it with just an absolute dedication to crafting a tangible and tantalizing atmosphere. Enter BIOSHOCK Infinite. This is one where I'd say if you haven't played it, just go and watch it. The introduction is a masterpiece in visual storytelling, and the moment where you burst above the clouds and first behold Columbia still holds up graphically 5 years later as one of the most breathtaking moments across the entire gaming catalogue. It manages to perfectly balance the wonder and mystery with just the right amount of sinister overtones to hook you in and invest you in a narrative that will carry you across the entire game.
Hey guys, thanks for making it to the end of the video. Aren't you a star? Don't forget to subscribe below, and also the people who made this video, they're right here, so go and follow them and give them some love. If you want to see more content, there's probably some stuff flowing up above my head. Why not check it out? It could be fun. I'm not your dad.